You're listening to Head, a Star Wars podcast. Two fans, two generations, all things Star Wars begins now.
All right, well, hello, everybody. I'm Eric Vansel.
I'm Daryl Sanders.
And as usual, we are your hosts for the show. We are back live on a Monday night. And before you say anything, yes, we know the Andor trailer dropped today. And even though it was one of those things where it was like, okay, do we actually just try to change things up and maybe react to the Andor trailer first? But it was one of those things where we had this thing advertised for a while. You know, the live stream is about the Mandalorian Season 3 leak trailer, and I realize it's been a minute since that's happened, but, you know, between schedules and everything, we just really haven't had time to review it or to react to it. And have you even watched it?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, me neither.
I purposely kind of stayed away from it.
Exactly. Yeah, good. Because I didn't either. I mean, I kind of went through it and made sure it works. But other than that, yeah, we haven't really watched this. So for those of you guys who don't know, the idea behind this trailer, and we're going to discuss a little bit of it first because, well, I mean, it's more than just your dramatic pause and, you know, you want to get as many viewers as possible. It really doesn't have anything to do with that. It's really more, sometimes on a live stream, it just takes a minute for people to sign on, you know, to get the notifications or whatever. And I noticed that the last couple of these that we did, what happened is people, you know, we played through it and we're talking about it, and then all of a sudden people are signing on. So I want to just take a little bit of time and maybe just talk about it a little bit, just kind of set this whole thing up. And then, of course, we'll play it, we'll react to it, and then we'll discuss it with you guys for the rest of the show. And, of course, for you guys who are watching the rebroadcast of this, you know, leave your comments in the comments section and leave multiple comments, actually, all through this thing. And I'm going to do this at the beginning of the show because I almost never do. If you like this video and you're enjoying what you're seeing so far, and I promise you will, definitely hit that like button and hit the subscribe button. And then, of course, we have a Buy Me a Coffee link, so if you guys feel so inclined, you can make a one-time donation, you can become a member. We got a bunch of packages with different things that we're doing for people, so, you know, we appreciate anything, really. And if all you want to do is hit that like button, trust me, that's good enough. That's what we want. So with this whole trailer thing, I mean, this thing came out. What was it that it actually was released on now? I can't remember. It wasn't Celebration, was it? Yeah, it was. Mm-hmm. It was Celebration. So this thing, as you guys know, Celebration was the end of April. But the thing that's weird, and this is what I don't understand, this trailer didn't actually drop until like 2 or 3 weeks ago, where people started, you know, to just, I mean, there was just this trailer that was all of a sudden released, and everybody was talking about it and everything, and we were going to review it at the time, but the problem was, I mean, even the one we have now, I mean, let's face it, they're so abysmal, you know, it's almost like the old bootleg movies where, you know, people are aiming a camera or something, or now it'd be their phones at the screen. You know, it's just, I mean, I was sitting there watching all these videos that were coming out at the time and just thinking, like, yeah, we can't do this. I mean, they're terrible, you know, but it was like, but it is a leaked trailer, though. So finally, I think it was like 2 weeks ago or something, I finally ran across one that, I mean, it's still not exactly clean like an actual release trailer would be, but at least it's something that you can watch. It's viewable. It's something that we can get some information. The audio's relatively clear. There's not too many heads in the way. But I mean, what did you think about the whole thing when you saw that they were actually releasing something from season 3 finally?
Well, I mean, I was actually, of course, naturally excited because, you know, I'm a huge Mandalorian fan. It's one of the projects from Disney that has done really well from its onset. We've gotten 2 good seasons in. I think we go be expecting a third awesome season.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm just wondering where the story is going to go. Because there's still so many questions with Grogu choosing to go back with Mando and not stay with Luke. So I'm wondering how that's going to all pan out. Um,
Well, actually, that's
are
a
we
good
going to see
point.
Luke again? You
That's a
know,
good point because I'm trying to remember if were they still shooting the season 3 of The Mandalorian while they were doing Book of Boba Fett? Or did they have Book of Boba
mm,
Fett in the can when they were? I don't remember the timeline. If you guys remember in the chat, feel free.
I think Book of Boba Fett was in the. I mean, I think that was. I think Matt the season 3 was already done,
It
or they were
it
in the
might have
process of
been.
doing it.
It might have been. Well, I mean, and look, I mean, where I'm going with this, and I mean, let's face it, they're writing this show. It's the same people that were doing The Mandalorian that are doing the Book of Boba Fett, essentially. So
Mm-hmm.
they knew where the story was going. It wasn't like a George Lucas thing from A New Hope to where then going into Empire Strikes Back and then you go into Return of the Jedi, and each time he's adding really significant chunks. Because if you remember, during A New Hope, even while he was writing The Empire Strikes Back, but definitely during the period of A New Hope, Darth Vader was not Luke's father. It wasn't originally written that
Mm-hmm.
way. And then, of course, even with Empire Strikes Back, Leia was not written as his sister, which, of course, made the kiss a little bit nasty when that whole thing was revealed. So I don't think that we're dealing with any kind of I guess like a contradiction. Voyager joins us. Let me get this in right now. He says, "Do you think Grogu and Din should have been reunited so soon?" That's a really good question, actually, and it's really interesting that they were reunited on a completely different show. In fact,
Yeah.
you and I, and definitely weigh in on this, but you and I remember one of the things that we said during our review of the Book of Boba Fett was, first of all, I think it was like episode 5 or something where it was basically a Mandalorian episode. Like, Boba
Mm-hmm.
Fett wasn't even in it.
Right.
And I remember that surprised me. But then, yeah, when you had this whole Luke, Grogu, Ahsoka, Mandalorian-centric episode, again, I mean, I was into it. I loved it. But at the same time, I was kind of like, I don't know, man. They should have. I mean, I think at the time what you and I had said was that they were trying to tie up some of these loose ends, so that way they can concentrate on what they actually want to concentrate on for Mandalorian season 3. And that's pretty much where I left it. I was like, okay, I'm completely supportive of this because they obviously want to tell this bigger story. You don't want to weigh it down with, hey, let's tie up all these other story points, because then you're like 3 or 4 episodes in, and then you're just getting to all the good stuff. And unlike
Mm-hmm.
Andor, which I think it's going to be like 12 episodes or something,
Yeah.
Mandalorian usually hovers, I think, around what, 10,
Yeah.
8,
8 to
something like
10.
that, 8 to 10. And then of course Obi-Wan had like 6, so you really have this whole thing to where, in a way, it was a good way to bring the Mandalorian in and also tie up his storyline, because the Book of Boba Fett was definitely related enough, because obviously he took up a good chunk of the Mandalorian season 2 storyline. So it worked out that way. I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a brilliant move because you kind of, like you said, you wrap up a big chunk, so you could kind of, and it's a nice way to kind of bring the Mandalorian in. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is what his world has always been about, Grogu, and you know, so the fact that we got a chance to kind of see that, um, and it allowed the Book of Boba Fett story to kind of breathe a little bit. So we kind of got like a 2-in-1, which was kind of nice. Um, excuse me. So once that happened, I was all about it. Of course, you kind of see it's kind of broadening the whole universe where you kind of seeing what's going on one part of the galaxy. Then there's, you know, things that are going on Tatooine. Um, so I thought that was really cool. So I'm all for it. I'm curious to see, like I said, what's going to take place now that Grogu has decided to go with Din. And to answer Voyage's question, in my opinion, yeah, I think he was reunited too soon. I kind of wanted to see a little bit more distance there um, before there's a reuniting, but we'll see what comes up.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they probably had to do it simply because of where they want to go with season 3 of The Mandalorian. It would have made more sense maybe if they had reunited later on, perhaps for season 4. But again, I get it. It's like, okay, we don't really. I mean, the Book of Boba Fett's happening around the same time, but it wasn't like, it was like 3 days later or something. I mean, there was some significant time that Grogu was with Luke. And honestly, Grogu and Din's path crossed in a very organic way. I don't think it was forced. So, I mean, even though you could say, well, it would have been nice to have some separation, if you were going to wait for Grogu and Din to reunite, you would have almost have had to cover the training. And I remember that was one of the things that you and I had talked about when we speculated about season 3 was, is this going to do the typical Star Wars thing where there's 2 stories going on simultaneously? So in other words, are we going to cut back and forth? Like, here's Grogu training with Luke and all that. Okay, here's Din presumably dealing with the Mandalorians, the Darksaber, and so on. And then are they going to sort of meet up kind of towards the season finale? Maybe that would have been a better way to handle it, but I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see how that unfolds. But we do actually have this leaked trailer, and of course, it came courtesy of oh man, I kind of forgot. Feel so bad. Got the guy's logo is like in the video, so it's something coffee, Star Wars coffee, something like that. But fortunately, that copy was relatively clean. Again, we're gonna roll this trailer. We're gonna react to it. But just again, keep in mind it's not exactly the best quality. So here we go. That's cool. Yeah, there's a lot of cool action in this thing, it looks like. Little skydiving. It looks like they're going to a lot of different places here. I do like the amount of action that I'm seeing in this thing.
Yeah.
Alright, so it looks like they got him vocalizing a little bit. What is that? Why is everybody freaking out?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to.
I mean, was that supposed to be like Hoth, or I mean, what was? I don't know. Whatever. I mean, there you go. That was the leaked trailer, and it's funny because they've actually leaked they leaked the Ahsoka trailer, and I watched a little bit of that, and it was the same kind of thing. It was blurry. It was. You would think that nowadays, with everybody having these 4K phones and all this stuff, that we could get some decent footage, but I mean, I guess we're just gonna have to wait. And of course, before we get into this thing, look, I'll just put it out right now and just say that we will review the official trailer when it does come out. And even if it's the exact same trailer, which it could very well be, we'll review it. But
it'll be cleaner, at least.
It'll be cleaner, yeah. And I mean, a lot of the things that I want to talk about now, because obviously we do need a much cleaner version. We need something with a little bit more context. And I mean, who knows? The thing could have been edited a little bit. I mean, it's always a little sketchy when you're doing these, hey, this leaked trailer, some dude shot this with his phone in the theater, basically, where they showed it. So it's kind of like, all right, whatever. But at least we got to see some imagery. So really what I want to go with this show, or I want to, I guess, center the discussion here, is let's basically talk about some of the images that we see, obviously, because it was the trailer that we're reacting to. But then also, maybe what this might reveal about Season 3, maybe how it fits in with Ahsoka, and then, of course, there was an accidental leak for the Book of Boba Fett Season 2. So we can talk about basically where it's fitting in with this whole timeline. But I'll just say that right out the gate, I think that it was cool that we got to visit a few more planets. So it looks like we're going a lot of places in this season. It looks like it's definitely going to be Mandalorian-centric. It's going to focus on that. I mean, they started out by basically recapping how he was pretty much dismissed from the Mandalorians and that he was no longer welcome. And we didn't see the Darksaber, but we did see some Grogu and Din action. So I'm actually thinking that this season might finally be what I think people were expecting from the very beginning. I think it might be that sort of Western gunslinger type of adventure, which, don't get me wrong, it always was, but the first 2 seasons were actually setting up the characters in this universe, the stories in the universe, and everything else. So, I mean, we had to have that. But, I mean, other than that, I think that we're actually in for a pretty wild ride this season. There's probably going to be a lot of reveals, too. And keep in mind, this is just, I mean, in essence, what was a teaser trailer almost, right? I'm sure we're going to get like a 2.5-minute long thing later on. But let me start with this, because I also want to get your thoughts on the trailer. But before you tell me your thoughts on the trailer and the rest of the world, why do you think they didn't release it?
I think it's something special for the fans who paid to go to Celebration, which I don't blame them. I mean, I think that's a cool added thing.
It's far enough away.
To reward those people who really, stuck in there and hung in there with everything. Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool for the fans. It gives people kind of something to kind of brag and talk about when they go home with their friends and stuff. Like, yeah, man, I saw the Mandalorian trailer. And, oh, what was it like? So I think that's what it is. Honestly.
What about the trailer? What were all your thoughts on that?
Oh, the thoughts on the trailer. Yeah, so with the trailer, I mean, it looks cool. Once again, awesome shots. Of course, Grogu being cute and whatnot. Different planets. There were some things though, like it seemed like there were some characters that people recognized in this. It was like one right before the very end, there was something where everybody was just like, "Whoa!"
I know, that was the thing.
And I was
like
trying to
everybody
figure
was
out,
cheering,
like,
and I'm like, "What are they cheering about?"
and unfortunately, it was at the moment when someone's head was like in the way.
Head in the way, the person was tilted down. I mean,
yeah, it's just like, of course, but so like you said, I think this is a season where we're going to have a bunch of surprises. And I mean, after season 2, seeing Luke pop up, I mean, how do you follow that? I mean, how do you really,
well, season 2 had quite a bit, actually. I mean, you had Ahsoka in there. You had, of course, Luke coming in and just
Boba Fett.
Well, actually, Luke was yeah, he was at the very end, but I mean, it just had so much weight on the rest of the whole season, really, when you stop and think about it, because you knew. Well, there's a couple of things that you knew. First of all, you knew that some Jedi had to make their appearance. And at first you thought, okay, maybe it's just going to be Ahsoka. And then, of course, they were trying to throw everybody off the trail and lead everybody to believe that maybe it's Plo Koon. Because I remember when you and I talked about this, and again, if you guys haven't had a chance to watch it yet, we did a whole review. Really, we reviewed both seasons of The Mandalorian, so you might want to go back and check out those videos. But particularly, I remember when we reviewed the season finale, both of us basically had the same reaction. Like, just kind of saw the X-Wing and thought maybe it was one of the New Republic guys or something that was coming. Like, maybe they called out the cavalry. But then we're kind of like, well, wait a minute, where's everybody else? And then you're kind of like, no, and then of course by that time he had popped out and everybody loses their minds. But yeah, you're right. I think they're gonna definitely have some big cameo. Wonder if it was Thrawn.
Yeah.
Nah, it couldn't have been. That would have been all over the place. They would have had stills of that out. They would have had.
Yeah, people probably would have been like blogging about it and everything. Yeah, no, I mean, I think they'll probably save that for. I think they will save that for Ahsoka. Honestly,
that's what I'm thinking too. Yeah,
but yeah, with season 2, the way it ended, like I said, you had a lot of different things. You had, Bo-Katan, you had Boba Fett, you had Ahsoka. You had a lot. You really think about it, like, in season 2. And of course, to cap it off with like Luke popping up at the very end, it's just like completely mind-boggling. But yeah, I really am curious as to see, who might show up in this. And for once, I have no idea who it could be, because unless they did something, maybe if they had like a Han or Leia or something like that, and they just de-aged them or something like that, or
yeah. But again, if it was something like that would
probably been all over them.
That would have leaked with the trailer. And I'm trying to think back, because again, this is like a 2.5, 3-week-old thing that we're a little late to the party on this one, unfortunately, just with our schedules and of course all the other stuff that we wanted to cover. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember anything big coming out of it other than this trailer leaked. And again, we were going to do this thing a long time ago. It's just that, people just, for whatever reason, we just couldn't.
Yeah. But it looks cool. I think we're going to go back to. I think we're going to go see Mandalore. I think that's going to be a part of it, definitely. There seems to be a lot of dealings with the Mandalorian as far as like the remainder of the clans, and so I think we're going to get a lot of history. I think we're going to get a lot of information just on that. Curious to see what's going to happen between he and Bo-Katan. That's the real big thing, because Din has a Darksaber, and that's the one thing that Bo-Katan wanted, because she wanted to be the leader of Mandalore. So now with it being in Din's hands, all right, are they going to kind of trust it under him, a person who's not really truly a Mandalorian, in people's minds, or is Bo-Katan going to end up with the Darksaber herself and end up ruling Mandalore? So those are some big things. I wanted to know if Grogu was going to exhibit any new Force abilities, because now we know he's been training with Luke, and he's been able to use the Force. Now that he's back with Din, how is that going to work? Are they going to actually show him doing some stuff? And are we going to have any more cameos? Like I said, Ahsoka could pop back up in this. We never know.
Well, it's going to be really interesting for me, I think, because there's so many different directions that I could think that they could take this. Number one, you have also, let's not forget, and of course they alluded to this thing in the very beginning, and once again, we will roll this trailer again, like later on in the show, for those who may.
I was about to ask, like, We might need to watch it again. Just
yeah,
because
we'll definitely have to watch it again because we have more viewers that are popping up. Which again, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that again, no matter how much you try to basically stall for time or whatever, a lot of times people are gonna pop on after you play it. So we will play the trailer again in a little bit, but first. At the beginning of the trailer, you notice they did the whole recap of the armor saying, hey, you're no longer a Mandalorian and all this other stuff. And remember that was the Mandalorian sect which I think were actually like the Watchers or something like that. I think that's who they were revealed to be. Because obviously we know about them from the Clone Wars. But I think that was something that was alluded to by Bo-Katan in Season 2. Which is really, really exciting. I think that's what they were called. So, pretty much, it's sort of like, is he just out of that group? Or is he no longer a Mandalorian? And then, of course, you have the problem of the Darksaber that you brought up, right? Because that one Mandalorian dude, I forgot his name, tried to actually... Hey, Ronaldo joined us. They tried to, get it from them, but they couldn't, I mean... And then, of course, Din's trying to learn to wield it. It was really heavy. And so you have a lot of these different things, even within the Darksaber, even with just in that storyline. These are the things that you have. So, I mean,
I want to know if they're going to show more of the Great War that they
There's
had.
the Great War, and then you brought up Force powers. We saw him use a little bit of that, but I mean... What else are they going to do, right? All right, so let's get to some of these chats. Let's see. Voyager says, was Din's specific Mandalorian sect brought up in the Clone Wars? Yes.
No. Din's?
Well, I mean, it depends on how you look at things. What it really was is that you had this particular group that was brought up in the Clone Wars, which was like the Watchers or something like that. Now that Ronaldo's here, he can help me out with that. It was something like that. And it was then revealed at some point, I think in Season 2, that this crazy little, okay, we never take off our helmets and all this stuff. Because remember, it was like it was either, I'm trying to think about this now. It was either that or it was the comics. I might be getting it confused with the comics.
Yeah, it might be it sounds like a comic thing. I think in Clone Wars, I mean, there was the I want to call them like the Watchmen or something.
Oh,
like that,
Children of the Watch.
Children of the Watch, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was.
So I know there's, I remember that group in that sector, but they were able to take their helmets off because they were ripping those things off all the time.
Yeah, so it could have been, and that's probably what it was. It was probably a sect that was somewhere in the Children of the Watch thing. So that could have been, and that could have very well been it. Because I mean, even Ronaldo basically says, I remember them, but not the helmet stuff.
Yeah, I don't think because they kept taking their helmets off all the time.
Yeah,
it was almost no problem for them.
Well, and I think that was sort of an invention of the Mandalorian thing, right? So it was kind of like, let's just do that or whatever. But I mean, it was kind of a fascinating thing to me though, because it gets a little bit convoluted because this is the first time that you're seeing, again, where they're adopting a lot of comic stuff. They're taking stuff from the books. They're taking stuff from all this other source material that is technically canon, and they're expanding it further. And this is the first time we've ever seen this happen. Voyager says, Bo-Katan is from Death Watch, Mandalorian terrorist organization. See, this is all this watch. I mean, this is... And then Bo-Katan refers to dissect as Children of the Watch. And then Ronaldo says, if that's the case, maybe the Children of the Watch involved into the Watch. Do you realize how ridiculous this whole thing sounds right now?
And then they have the timepieces, and then they had no. But no, I mean, so I'm wondering too. But I mean, to this point though, I mean, and this is actually a great moment that it comes up. So we never get a chance. We've never gotten a chance to see Din's earlier training, right? We saw him as a kid. He was found by them, by the Children of the Watch or whatever, and he was trained. But like his whole their whole philosophy, their whole history, like we never got. So I'm very curious, and I think we're going to get a lot, like I said, a lot of history on Mandalore as we approach this season, because I think we're going to hear about the actual Mandalorians. Then you got the Death Watch, Children of the Watch.
Yeah, they've got
Morris
to
Day in the
clarify all
time
this stuff, right? Prince and the Revolution. All right, let's do this now that we have a little bit more context here. Let's re-roll this trailer, and again, it is what it is as far as quality. But let's re-roll the trailer. We got some people watching now, and let's just see if we can make any sense out of what we see.
Can I say it?
Say what? Oh yeah, do it again.
See, that looks like.
I know, and then it cuts to this though. So that was almost like a
Boba Fett helmet.
Yeah. What was that? Grogu just hanging upside down there a second ago?
Well, he was in the ship.
Maybe we could see what they were cheering about.
See right there.
Oh, you know what? Babu Frick.
Those are Babu Frick. Yeah.
Babu Frick. I think that's who that was.
Yeah.
And that's kind of reminiscent a little bit of episode 2 there. He's coming down in his little basket or whatever it is. See, it's cool that he vocalizes now. That he's at least saying something. See, now they're losing their minds.
See, right there.
Right. They just... Anybody out there know why they're losing their minds at the end? All I saw was what appeared to be a crash ship and I don't even know. What was that?
To me, it looked like a city or something like that. Like, almost like Coruscant or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Well, and of course, Ronaldo's like, Babu Frick, yes. And then Voyager says, I was hoping Din would finally accept he could take off the helmet, but it seems he's still got the helmet on most of the time. Okay, and then Ronaldo actually has a good thing, and I was thinking this when we first rolled the trailer, before everybody had hopped on. He's like, I'm guessing that's Mandalore, maybe. And that could be, because we did see Mandalore in the beginning, right? Like in the Clone Wars, we actually saw Mandalore, what it looked like. A lot of stuff took place there. When Maul took over, that took place there. So we actually did get to see a lot. And, maybe it was because there's like this little sort of blurry, heads in the way, kind of tilted down, terrible representation of this trailer. Again, when this thing actually comes out officially, when they release the first official Mandalorian Season 3 trailer, we will be all over it. But as of right now, this is all we got. So, it could be. Ronaldo could be right. This could actually be Mandalore, and that would explain why everybody would lose their minds. Because again, I'm thinking that a lot of this has to take place there, right? Because you have Bo-Katan, you have that whole thing that was set up in the very beginning. You have a lot of different elements that they have set up for all these seasons. And they were building up to it. So in season 1, it was like, I never take off my helmet. They made a point to say, hey, do you ever take that thing off, Mando? Or, little things like that, right? Where he would say no. Even when he was all hot for that one chick, right? In the Endor-looking planet. And, he wouldn't even take it off in front of her. The touching thing was when he took it off initially because he knew it was the only way to save Grogu or prevent his identity, get into that Empire facility or whatever. That was actually really cool. But the point is, they've been setting this up through both of these seasons. And so it seems like they have to deal a little bit more with that, right? Because Bo-Katan basically revealed, like, hey, check it out. You're actually from this weird sect. Like, you think all Mandalorians feel this way. Because I'll never forget the reaction that I had when, you know, he's getting up there and he sees the 3 Mandalorians and he's all happy, like, hey, more people from my kind. And they're all just whipping off their helmets. And and he's just, like, so deflated and disappointed.
Yeah.
And because he's realizing, no, you're the weirdo, okay? This isn't how all Mandalorians are. So,
yeah,
we'll have to see. Let me jump in with this last one here from Ronaldo, and he says, but also there's a lot of clouds, maybe Cloud City. I guess it could be. There was actually a couple of things in there that when they were flying around that to me were reminiscent of Cloud City. And they actually visited, I want to say it was it in Rebels? Because they went to the Tabana gas mines, which is where Cloud City is located. Cloud City kind of floats above there. And I think they actually showed it. It was another one of those fan service-y type of things. I don't remember, and I know you don't too, because your eyes are all like looking.
It might be.
I think it's like if you go up and look at the left, you're like lying or something. And if you go to look at the right, you're accessing information or whatever it is.
Actually, I think the other way around, but yeah.
So you're lying?
No, I'm saying if you flip them, I think if you look to the left. Never mind. But I think it's. Did we see it in Solo?
I don't know. I don't think so. No, we didn't see it in Solo. That would have been too fan servicey if we saw it in Solo because Lando was there. No, it was definitely Rebels.
Yeah.
It was just I don't remember the context that it was in there. I remember Ezra, I think it might have, believe it or not, it might have been that weird space whale episode.
Whale?
Yeah.
Yeah, the whale thing.
Because I remember they had to go to the Tabana gas mines because I think those whales or whatever actually wanted gas or whatever. And they sent them there. I don't know. It was something like that. Something like that. I don't exactly remember, obviously. Ronaldo says he's pretty sure it was Rebels. Pretty sure it was Rebels.
Okay.
So, and don't even mention those stupid whales. That's right.
Oh.
I forgot. Ronaldo had a thing against that episode.
It was Kessel in Solo. That's what it was.
Yes. The Kessel Run.
That's what I was thinking.
That's probably what you were thinking of.
Okay.
And, I mean, they were on Corellia. So we finally got to see Han's homeworld. So that part was cool. So I think because they're setting up all these different various things, right, that they're trying to give us maybe the payoff in season 3. That's what it looks like to me. It looks like we're finally going to get a payoff from everything that they've been building through seasons 1 and 2. Because the fact that they actually leaked a Book of Boba Fett series, well, not series, but a new season. Because remember, that was another one that was supposed to be one and done. Book of Boba Fett was supposed to be a limited series, and that was it. And there were rumors that they were going to do more with it. And actually, I mean, they could. There is a lot more they could do with it. And of course, if they didn't, and they did leave it in one and done, certainly Boba Fett could pop up all over the place in The Mandalorian and even Ahsoka.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking that because you have the situation where he is going to get another series or another season, I gotta stop saying that. Because he's going to get another season, it makes me wonder if they're going to do a similar thing at the end of season 3 that they did before, right? Where there's some things that happen, and then they use season 2 of the Book of Boba Fett to tie up some of the storylines that we get in season 3 of The Mandalorian.
Yeah, I mean that's a very likely assessment. I think that everything we've kind of built up to, because like I said, you look at season 1, he's kind of like this loner. He's got there's a couple of people in the camp that he knows, but then they actually turned against him for a little bit. But then he finds Grogu. He's on this whole path, and we get to season 2, and we're finding out all this different stuff. But Book of Boba Fett, though, that whole Mandalorian scene where he's with the armor and he's got the dark saber and that whole training thing, like,
right,
that's what really pushed things forward a whole lot. And I think from that moment, now that we are at the point we're now at the end of season 2, where Bo-Katan knows he has a dark saber, Luke shows up, and now it's this whole standoff between Din and Bo-Katan. And we still, like I said, I'm surprised we didn't see Gideon in this.
I know. I was thinking the same exact thing, because I happen to think, and I could be wrong on this, but I happen to think that Gideon is going to play a huge role. Now, before we get into...
Absolutely.
Because I could see that going into its own thing. Voyager has a question, and you started to address it, actually. He says, wait, well, they've been building up to a Mandalorian again? Okay, so pretty much, basically everything that you just mentioned, right? Mm-hmm. They're building up to a lot, actually. You have to remember that with the whole Grogu storyline, Gideon trying to get his blood and all that stuff, that's starting to come out a lot more in all this other source material that we've been getting, because we've been speculating pretty heavily about what that's all about and what it means and all this other stuff, but we never really understood it fully until The Rise of Skywalker came out and you saw Palpatine was back. You had a lot of these things that were going on in the War of the Bounty Hunters and Crimson Reign. You've got Shadow of the Sith. You've got some of these other books. And it looks like that the connective tissue might be happening here is that we might see something to the effect of, you find out that Gideon has been trying to get Grogu's blood to give to Thrawn, so Thrawn can then resurrect Palpatine. He can basically make a clone of him and actually put a full thing in there. And that's how they're connecting all this stuff together, which is kind of cool. And again, with all the complaints about The Rise of Skywalker and stuff like that and Palpatine's return, I think if they had waited and maybe done another movie on that and allowed all this source material to build up, and then you did that, it would make a little bit more sense. But, when did that movie come out? Like 2017 or something? And it's like, not 2017. Yeah, 2019 or 18.
Rise of Skywalker?
Yeah.
No, Rise of Skywalker came out 17, I believe.
No, it couldn't have been.
I'll double check.
Yeah, it couldn't have been. Couldn't have been, because I was working. I wasn't. No, because Rogue One came out in 16. Then The Last Jedi, I think, came out in 17. So it's probably December of 18. Yep. Oh, 2019. Ronaldo says 2019.
19. Yep.
Was it?
Yep, 19.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, it was at December. I knew it couldn't have been 18 because that was my accident. So I'm thinking like, okay.
Oh, right. Yeah, you're right. And you and I went and saw that together and it had to be 19. Okay, yeah. So it was 2019. Yeah. So back in 2019, a lot of this stuff wasn't known yet, right? You didn't even have The Mandalorian yet. You had none of this. As far as we were concerned, this whole thing just dropped on everybody. It's like, oh, surprise, Palpatine's alive. And what made it even worse, well, there's two things that made it worse. First thing that made it worse is that everybody in universe acted like it was no big deal. Like, well, all right, whatever, we'll just deal with it. And then what compounded that was then you get things like Fortnite that are giving us more detail on it.
Right.
It's like, yeah, so basically what you're saying is I got to go out and get this game in order to actually learn more about
that was crazy.
This movie that I saw. I mean, who was the... I mean, I get the whole cross-platform, you know, all this crossover marketing they're trying to do. That's a key bit of information.
Yeah.
Now, if they had revealed that in the actual film, like you heard the... let's just say you heard Palpatine's big broadcast, and then they reference that again in Fortnite, and it's like, oh, look, now the Fortnite characters are hearing it. See, that, I could get behind that. That's the proper way to do it. But don't reveal it to me in that.
Exactly.
You know, it's like, what are you thinking?
Exactly. Yeah, that couldn't agree with you more.
So that's part of, you know, this is a long way around Voyager's question here, but that's part of what they've been setting up. So you have the Grogu angle. If you just look at Grogu's whole purpose for being in this show, he's basically the super powerful Force user that Gideon is trying to get his blood. That's been well established. But why? Now, at first we were assuming that maybe he was trying to do something for himself and he had some weird plan or whatever. But it's looking like Thrawn is going to be the big puppet master here, which makes sense because during this time period, he would be the one with enough juice to actually take over the entire thing a la Palpatine or Vader. And, of course, when you factor it into the rest of the stories in this franchise, it makes perfect sense at that point to then go, hey, we're going to resurrect Palpatine. And then that ties into the Rise of Skywalker. So that was something they're setting up. And then, of course, you went over the whole Bo-Katan thing, and that was it, right? Because you had Din, who, remember, since season one of the things that they've been trying to do, and this storyline got buried a little bit, I think, because you had all this other, you know, shiny new toy type things going on. But the whole idea was he was looking for other people of his kind. He was this lone Mandalorian. He was a foundling, and he pretty much was looking to connect with other Mandalorians. And, of course, what happens when he basically does? You know, there was that whole, like, little underground sect that he belonged to, but he wanted to find other people. And then, of course, when he does find them, he finds out, like, no, this isn't what Mandalorians are like at all. You're kind of a weirdo, actually. And then he's got to deal with that. So that's another thing that they're building up to. And, of course, with the Darksaber that you brought up, too. You know, and that's a big Mandalorian artifact. So, pretty much, in this whole thing, all things point to Mandalore. Everything that they've set up in Season 1 and Season 2, maybe except for the whole getting Grogu's blood thing, but it pretty much points to Mandalore, which makes sense because the show is called The Mandalorian. So when you factor that in, then it's one of those situations, I think, where you can understand better. Like, Season 3, it looks like we're going to start to get some payoff, right? In other words, they're done building, because as you pointed out, they were even building a little bit in the Book of Boba Fett. They were giving us that whole training scene with the Darksaber. They were doing this whole deal with the armor. And I mean, you're looking at that thinking, man, this scene is pretty meaty to be in another series. You know, it's like some crossover episode. I mean, I'm not saying that they should do throwaway episodes, but that's kind of significant. And the problem is they're really counting on the fact that if you're a Star Wars fan, that you're all in. Because how do you know that a Mandalorian fan is even going to watch the Book of Boba Fett? They're going to be kind of lost. And I'm not saying that there's a lot of people like that. I don't think there are. I think pretty much anybody who's a Star Wars fan, if you're going to start watching the Disney Plus shows, you're going to be watching all the content. But still, when you stop and think about it, say you're the type of person that, hey, you know what? I'm a casual guy. I like The Mandalorian a lot because it's good television, but I'm not into all this other crap. Okay, so imagine your surprise. You see the season finale or whatever of The Mandalorian Season 2, And oh yeah, this whole teary eye, Grogu's going away with Luke. Comes back in season 3, and now they're in some Naboo starfighter. You're gonna be like, whoa, what'd I miss?
Well, yeah, I mean, exactly. You got, even in the Book of Boba Fett, that whole, like I say, with the armor, I mean, like, that was potent because they even brought up Tar Vizsla. You know what I'm saying? And
Oh,
what I'm
that's
saying.
right. They mentioned by name.
Yeah, so they keep bringing like all this lore and all this stuff that's kind of like I said, a lot of history that's kind of coming in into this whole fray. And it's really going to be, like you said, I think it's really going to be a big payoff in season 3.
Well, you got to know your history. But so Voyager says, Pedro said season 3 is a reluctant hero story. All right, he's gonna be a leader with the Darksaber. All right, I can hang with that, I guess. I mean, but to me, I don't know if that's necessarily as much of a payoff, because I guess that's almost like comparing Han Solo from the Solo standalone film to maybe like A New Hope or something, because A New Hope is when we finally do see him fully embrace that I'm a reluctant hero thing at the end. In a Star Wars story, and this is actually one of my criticisms of that movie, is the fact that they didn't quite do it. You could still hang on to it a little bit, but they almost nullified that whole thing, because they're almost making him the way that he ended up saying Empire Strikes Back, but back then. With the hero thing and okay, I'm going to go and save these people. It was almost like he wasn't opportunistic and selfish enough.
His thing was Kira, though. Like, that was his whole thing. Like, he wanted, it was kind of selfish on his behalf.
Well, that's true.
He really wanted Kira, so that was his whole,
don't we all?
Really his motive. Especially she has white pants.
She might have worn them in Game of Thrones. I don't know. I mean,
I didn't have any pants on.
Well, there is that. But I mean, it's just one of those things that I just find really strange, because it's not even so much the fact that, yes, you're right. He was motivated by a selfish need, and it was emotional. But it was almost the way that he went about some of the stuff. It was kind of, I mean, again, it was believable enough that I don't think it ruined it or anything like that. But it did come close, in my opinion. It came to the point where, and this is a problem of doing a Han Solo origin story, is the fact that if you really want to do that, he's not going to be the character that we all know and love right now. I mean, kind of, but not really. So you might have to... I do like the fact that they covered some of his time in the Empire, though. So, that said, what we're going to have to do is we're just going to have to, I think, sort of wait and see what they do with all these different story elements. Because like you said, not only the Mandalore thing is a really complex thing. I mean, you had the Darksaber and the fact that he has it, and Bo-Katan wants it, and so he is technically the ruler of Mandalore. Right, all these different factions, you have that, but then you also have, in essence, the liberation of Mandalore, the reestablishment of it. You have Gideon. Gideon's now going to be divided into two different areas, right? Because on one hand, he's still wanting Grogu and still trying to deal with that whole thing. And I'm really wondering where he is, simply because the last time that we saw him, he's incarcerated.
Yeah.
Which is why I wonder if maybe he pops up in Ahsoka first.
I don't know. I mean, it seems like he would be in Mandalorian because that was his whole thing. He wanted to rule. I think he wanted to rule or Mandalore or have the control over the Mandalorians because he knew that could be an army for him.
Yeah,
I mean, like I said.
Do you really think he knew that much about? Well, I guess he did actually.
Oh yeah, because I mean,
Yeah,
like he
he
talked
did.
about. I mean, that's the whole thing. He's like, yeah. Do you even know the history behind this whole
Yeah,
thing?
he
And he
did.
was,
That's right. He did
and
say
that's
that.
one of his thing. He's an IFB agent, so yeah,
Yeah.
you know he knows.
Well, here's one thing that I'm really curious about. I wonder if they're actually going to go into how he even got the thing.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Because again, the big moment, of course, of season 1 was when, you know, that Darksaber goes through the TIE fighter and
No.
it pops out and he's got, and we're all going, is that the Darksaber? Nah, that can't be the Darksaber. And
Right.
I mean, what would he be doing with it? In fact, I think the last time that we saw it was with Obi-Wan, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I thought the last time was with Sabine.
But I think Sabine ended up giving it to him. I'd have to check that. But it's one or the other. It either went to Obi-Wan or like Obi-Wan got it somehow. Or, yeah, because, I mean, who knows? It's going to be really interesting to follow the whole thing of the Darksaber, too, because the Darksaber alone has just this vast history behind it. I mean, not just the in-universe history, but think of the fact that it's been featured in everything else. Oh, so as usual, Ronaldo answers our question for us. He says Sabine gave it to Bo-Katan. So did Bo-Katan give it to Obi-Wan then? I could have sworn that Obi-Wan somehow ended up with it. I don't even know where I got that from. It just...
Me either.
It's something... No, it's something that's been in my head. Like, it was a piece of information that I read or picked up somewhere, and I don't know. I mean, it's going to be really interesting. I'm not entirely sure how... Because this thing... Season 3, like 10 episodes still? Do we know? Has that been a thing?
Mandalorian?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
So they got a lot they're going to have to cover. You know, once again, they better not do any filler. We better not get any of these, like, you know, frost spiders or something. Or, yeah, you know.
Frog lady.
No carrying frog lady to, like, 3 different destinations for this one. You know, we need actual, like, just real adventuring. And
Let's get to the business.
To be fair, that trailer did look incredible. Oh, Ronaldo says Obi-Wan had it in Clone Wars and Maul also had it. Now, I remember Maul having it. So, okay, my timeline was just messed up. But yeah, I mean, they just have so much they got to cover. And from the trailer, it did look like it was action-packed. So, this is a time where you guys, and then, of course, we're going to do this, final thoughts. What are your final thoughts on this trailer? As he's deep in thought. I know it's a tough one.
I'm going to say like I'm definitely hopeful. I'm definitely hopeful. I mean, they haven't missed yet with Mandalorian, thankfully. I don't think they're going to miss with this one. I think there's going to be some compelling story. I'm hoping that, like you said just a moment ago, that it's not a whole lot of filler, but we definitely see a lot of action. And there's some battles that's definitely going to be taking place on land and in space. And it seems like he's going to be working really heavily with his newfound compadres in the Mandalorian race. And I don't know. I'm just ready for the surprises. But most of all, I'm just want to see like, a really good story.
Well, first I'd like to see an actual good clean trailer. One without basically people shooting the screen at some weird angle, tilting down at all the weird moments. That would be number one. But again, yeah.
Yeah, we got that in Obi-Wan. No,
yeah, we get Brea, right? Well, first of all, let me be courteous here to our viewers. So Ronaldo says, really good trailer, excited to see it when it comes out. All right. Moving on to me then. So for me, yeah, I echo your sentiments, unsurprisingly. It looks like it's a really cool trailer. The only thing that bothers me is that if you really stop and think about season 2, it opened with that amazing episode where you had Cobb Vanth. He was wearing Boba Fett's armor. You know, you just had this crazy action-packed, insanely good episode, and then the second episode was, hey, we're going to take Frog Lady to a new destination or something. It's like, it was just, and I think there was only 8 episodes or something stupid like that. I mean, they had a really limited time to get all this stuff done, and I just want to avoid a moment where I'm not screaming at the television, like, could we just get back to the main story? You know, I don't care about this. And again, if I'm being fair, the Frog Lady did have a somewhat vital role, because I think it was like her husband or something. They gave him, I don't even remember. But it wasn't entirely filler, I'll put it that way. It was really more like a 2 or 3 episode story arc that the first episode was more of a setup type of a thing. So taken out of context, it seemed like filler. When you actually put it into the context with the 2 or 3 episode story arc, and then you put it in further context with the rest of the season, well, then it made a little bit more sense. But what I'm hoping...
more hilarious than Grogu chomping on her kids.
Oh, man, that was the best. I mean, actually, if nothing else... That alone was worth that whole story arc. And he kept sneaking them too. It was so dark.
Well, that was the thing. Like, people were kind of like mortified by that. Like, people online were kind of like, "Yo, like, he's basically, these are like the last of, or some of the last of their kind or species, and he's just popping those things like M&Ms, man."
Well, and I think that one of the cool things about that too. And again, go back to our reviews. They basically are in their own playlist. We actually review both seasons of The Mandalorian, but I remember when we were reviewing that, we did go back and forth on that, where it's like, look, I mean, I get it. It's a little dark. But I mean, if you look at that kid, he's eating everything in sight.
Mm-hmm. Even those spider eggs.
He's right. He's chomping on everything. So what? It would almost be unrealistic if he had left those eggs alone, to be honest, because he would have to differentiate, like, oh, these are not good. This is the last of her kind. They're her kids. She's protecting them. He's essentially a child. Mm-hmm. You know, he sees food, he's gonna eat it. So I don't know. But what I'm hoping is that this trailer isn't misleading. I'm hoping that it's not like they just took all these action scenes and put them in this minute and a half trailer, and then we get to the episodes, and you're going to find out they're either all in one single episode, 'cause they've done that before, or, you know, that it's a lot of dead weight and filler. I tend to agree with you. They haven't really missed with this show yet. Seasons 1 and 2 were really good, and they've maintained a certain quality. So I'm thinking we're probably going to be okay. I don't necessarily think that this is going to be bad. And like you said, I'm pretty much excited to see what's next. It's like, okay, we've seen some visuals, because that's important, because you want to see the overall look, the overall feel of what the season's going to be. They've let us know that, hey, we're going to continue a few storylines, and, you know, I'm excited to see an actual official, clean, officially released trailer. And when it comes out, we're going to review it, because like I said, the Andor trailer dropped today. You know, we were very, very close. If this hadn't been already a done deal, and it's like, look, I can't put this off anymore. And I know, like, every YouTuber on the planet is going to be doing a reaction to this thing tonight. But be that as it may, maybe we'll make that one the Friday show. Maybe we'll react to the Andor trailer this Friday. So again, you know, don't forget to hit that like button. If you guys haven't yet subscribed to the channel, what are you waiting for? Got a lot of good content here. You know, we're live twice a week, every Monday and Friday at 8. We're going to start doing some other reaction videos, other videos of different types, all Star Wars, of course, but, you know, I know we've been threatening to do it for a while, but we're really going to do it this time. And then, of course, hit the notification bell so you do know when we're going live. And like I said, if you guys are so inclined, you want to make a one-time donation, you want to support us monthly, we got some great packages for that. There's a link in the description for buymeacoffee.com. We, of course, have it as Buy Me a Blue Milk. It's really cool. We even have a picture of a blue milk. It's really, really good, worth checking out. I mean, if you guys even want to just give $1 or something, it's totally cool. But if not, we'll take likes. Likes are good, too. I mean, not to beg for them, but you know how it goes. Likes help support the channel. It tells the algorithm, hey, we like you guys. And then it puts us in the face of more people. So I guess until then, we're going to see you guys Friday night at 8. Which,
hey, before we leave, I have... You're really going to want to leave after this, but... So I have a little riddle for you.
Oh, no. Is this like a dad joke kind of thing?
Of course it is.
Oh, jeez.
What did Yoda say when he saw himself in 4K?
I don't even know.
HDMI.
Oh, man. Wow.
I'm sorry. I had to leave. Yeah, you go ahead and sign off now.
So I'm Eric Vansel.
I'm not that corny in real life, people, trust me. It's just, let me just say that for the record. I am not that corny in real life, but I just had to get that one out.
All right. You know what? I'm gonna basically try and pretend I didn't hear it. But all right, make sure you guys join us Friday. We've got more Star Wars stuff. Daryl, I'm sure we'll have another corny joke or two to end the show with. Maybe, I don't know. That might be a thing. See, this is your revenge for Visions.
Yes.
It's like, you know what? If we have to review Vision Season 2, then I'm going to tell a corny joke at the end of every show. And all I can say to that is, get ready for a corny joke at the end of every show. Hey, I mean, I don't think Visions is coming out till like 2023, so you have some time. Not much, but some.
Right.
All right. Well, hopefully you guys can join us Friday night, 8 o'clock. Probably going to look at the Andor trailer that dropped today and react to that. So until then, I'm Eric Vansel.
I'm Daryl Sanders.
May the Force be with you.
Always.
Head to Head, a Star Wars podcast. Be sure to follow us on Twitter @HeadToHeadSW. Submit your questions for our next show. Visit our official website at headtoheadswpodcast.com. Until next time, may the Force be with you, always.